the problem with what we're going to do today, what the challenge is, you must never underestimate your audience. And I'm of the opinion that we've probably got some very, very well-researched people in our audience today. I mean, Erica's there, for example. She's got a tremendous body of knowledge about Ayurveda, which is ancient. It's really ancient. I mean, the Vedas are, you're talking really old stuff here. And so then you get the ancient earth theory. Well, did the Vedic culture come first, and then did the Sumerian and the Egyptian come after it? Or what, right? And if you're looking at 30,000 years, is that right? The Vedas, the Rig Veda is how old?
Yeah, 25,000.
25,000 years ago, right? Well, how come you can come up with that level of spiritually sophisticated information when we are supposed to be scratching our asses in caves, right? That just doesn't work. But there's a clear line in the Indian tradition that you can take all the way back 25,000 years. It's unbroken, right? So how do you...
oral too.
It's oral, right?
Yeah.
So how does that mesh in with 8,000 years ago we were hunter-gatherers, and we were idiots scratching our butts in caves, and suddenly we start building space shuttles, 7,000 years, come on. So this is some of the information we have to deal with. We have to face the fact that we've got some major contradictions without going too deep in our culture. And nobody's got all the answers.
Well, turning it back to the Mayans, they used the decimal thousands of years ago. And they knew, this really blows me away, they knew the coming of comets and stuff, and they could predict when it was going to be coming, what part of the sky and stuff like that. They were astronomers. And so what I try to do is, like when you're at Chichen Itza and they got the observatory, imagine that it's getting near dark. First of all, they don't have lights like we do, so they're walking with their torches. They go in this observatory, and they're going to be watching the sky and making notes on every single thing that they see year after year, generation after generation, to be able to create a map that they can follow. And it's like, first of all, patience. You want a boring job.
Yeah, but that's one answer to the question, right? But there's another answer to it too. It's that people who had that information gave it to them.
That's, yes.
I mean, that's a much easier way, right?
Yeah.
You got information about the precession of the equinoxes, let's have it.
Yeah.
So we don't have to sit for the next 12,000 blood years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just like we hand over information to primitive cultures today. This is called a computer. And this is how you use it, right? And you're talking to the pygmies. And they're like, these guys are gods. That's what they can do with this shit, right? It's, well, why can't you recapitulate that with there were more sophisticated beings around? And that's where me and Graham are completely different. Graham believes that the ancient teachers of mankind, these very sophisticated, advanced cultures that we have clear evidence existed. Clear evidence means that the best Japanese engineers cannot create the pyramids of Giza right now. They can't. They tried. At 1/5 of the scale. The best engineers in Japan, who are right up there with the Germans, they attempted to make the same angle on a 1/5 scale of the Pyramid of Giza, and they screwed it up.
Wow.
They screwed it up. It was about 10 years ago. So if our best people can't build pyramids, and they're telling you that slaves went on for 100 years doing it, you know how long the ramp would have to be? That explanation about the slaves and the ramp shit, there would be more stone required for the ramp than for the bloody pyramid. Because the ramp would be 1/2 mile long.
And with the size of the weight of those stones, I mean...
So where did all the ramp stones go? You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure out there's something wrong with that explanation. Graham believes, I believe in the, in fact, I think there's very good evidence for extraterrestrial intervention. Extremely good evidence for extraterrestrial intervention, which is not that hard in our current day. I mean, now they're finding exoplanets every day that could contain life. Every day. 10 years ago was they don't exist. Exoplanets? Oh, we just found another 15 today, could easily harbor life. Like every bloody day, right? So things are changing so fast. What I want to impress upon the audience is that things are changing much faster than you even think they're changing fast. And leading edge science is so far ahead of what we're being taught in schools that it's totally primitive, right? That we have to start thinking, either our ancestors were super evolved, how they got that way we don't know. People like you and me, but they were super advanced. They had that kind of technology to create those skulls and all the rest of it, right? Or there was visitation. And every single culture on this planet has talks of star visitors, every single one, bar none. All the Indian tribes talk about it, the Japanese talk about it, the Indians talk about it, the Chinese talk about it. Everybody talks about the messengers from the stars. So we're either having a group hallucination that's gone on for 20,000 years, or we have visitors. And they gave us the blueprint. This is how you build them.
Well, the side of the pyramids, you're Scottish, and in the UK you have the Stonehenge.
Oh,
And how far did those stone pieces come from? Through bog and marsh, and they still don't know anything about that either.
yeah, heave-ho, yeah.
And was it like 100 some odd kilometers or miles?
They got, you know the statues on Easter Island?
Yes.
The big ones on Easter Island? A friend of mine met one of the female shamans on Easter Island, and she told him how they moved the stones. It was absolutely mind-blowing.
Really?
Because all these people have got these really far-flung ideas in their heads, you know, of, you know, I don't know. But sound, the power of sound. They get about 10 people around one of those rocks, right? And then they all do a like a ki, right? Mm-hmm. You know the importance of sound? Mm-hmm. Well, imagine 8 people or 9 people with perfectly attuned minds, and they just do it together. And they move it like a foot, you know, hundreds of tons. And they just move it around, 8, 10 people using sound. That was her explanation. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that was a local, indigenous Easter Island woman saying, we can tell you because you're Japanese.
Well, we just recently watched a program on that too, and their explanation of, and fits in with why there is no vegetation left on Easter Island, is because they cut all the trees down to use them to roll
as rollers.
the,
Yeah.
So there's no trees left either.
Yeah, that's another interesting explanation, but I find it hard to believe that people would shit that badly in their own nest.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to cut all our trees down for a few statues.
I know, yeah.
That's some genius of the History Channel who dreamed that one up, right?
Could be the BC Liberal government though, eh?
Yes. And especially those cultures were so connected to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally connected,
exactly.
you know.
That's the part that he just doesn't
Well,
get.
even today, if you're looking at South America or other places where there's indigenous people that still live off the land, they don't over-harvest, they move on and stuff. So,
Very much aware of that. Well, that's actually a large part of our film is about that. That's a concept that the South Americans call Aini, which is reciprocal. Make it a noun.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity, thank you. It's the idea of reciprocity big time. If you really want nature to work for you, you've got to put your ass on the line, physically. And that means dancing and praying and singing for days on end, which is what we were filming in the Andes, right? I mean, they take it really seriously because they can see, you know, how easily that you get wiped out. As soon as they go, now we'll be all right, everything's fine, we'll just let nature do her thing, then shit happens. As long as they keep their traditions going and they pray, as long as they keep their calendar going, things are in balance. As soon as they forget, and PSAC got wiped out this year, we actually got a lot of donation money through our film was sent to PSAC because they had major flooding there. And my friend lives there and saw what happened when the water came down the valley. His neighbours got killed. He saw it firsthand what happens when a poor indigenous community gets hit. And because he's a white man, he rallied support and he got money from Japan and from Canada. And with only $12,000, he rebuilt that community.
Wow.
12 grand, that's all he needed.
Yeah.
To get 60 families on there because of that. But Palenque is extraordinary. That's the pyramid of the inscriptions. The 9-tiered pyramid of the inscriptions. And if you go deep down inside it, there is that famous sarcophagus of Bacal Votan with the huge stone lid. I'm sure that you've seen. There's a guy looks like he's an astronaut inside some kind of a celestial machine. That's how New Age people interpreted it, but actually it's way off. It's got to do with the Tree of Life.
I can't remember his name, but there was a German author who wrote...
Deniken, Erich von Deniken, and the whole ancient astronaut theory.
Yeah.
That's where you got a lot of noise. People immediately assume, oh, they all had flying saucers. Yeah. But it actually meant something else. However, it's extraordinary to go down into a pyramid like that and see how they must have built his burial chamber first and built a pyramid around it. Because you can't build a pyramid and then start boring down like that. And then they went to all the trouble of, in 1952 it was finally open, they put tons of debris into it so nobody would find it. They completely blocked it off with, tons and tons of stuff. They built a pyramid to bury the king, and then they completely covered the tracks. And they did the same thing in Egypt, right? They put all the entrances, they made them all sealed.
Right, yeah.
So that nobody would find a king's chamber until a certain time, right? So why would you build a king's, royal tomb with a phenomenal pyramid around it so that nobody could find it? I mean, these are questions that nobody seems to have grappled with yet. Why would you do that? And when I was born, 1952, an archaeologist started digging and he dug for 3 years and bang, he opens it up. And there is this incredible tomb. And the lid weighs 5.5 tons, right? It's this thick. It's about 3 yards long and 2.5 yards wide. Weighs 5 tons. How did they get that lid on that thing inside up? They must have started with it, right? So they started with that and they built a pyramid around it. That's how important the guy was. And he's dressed in stuff for the afterlife, jade and really beautiful stuff. That was Pakal Votan, the great king of the Maya. And very recently they found his queen's tomb, the Red Queen, right next door. So I would highly recommend you go to Palenque. It's a very cool place. Very cool place. And then to Tonina, which is about an hour away. And not many people go there because that's where all the Zapatista guerrillas hang out in the jungle.
That's in the Yucatan?
No. That's you're down. Palenque is Tabasco.
Okay.
It's already Tabasco, so it's about 10 hours drive from Merida. It's a lovely road. Just as you know, it's just
Straight.
jungle.
Yeah, flat.
Flat road.
What do you think of the crystal skulls?
Definitely, this is interesting. Do you guys know about the crystal skulls? Around about 1927, a British archaeologist and his daughter were doing work at the site of a pyramid, and she discovers a human-size, exact replica of a human skull, but made entirely of crystal. It's anatomically perfect. It has not a scratch mark on it. So imagine a human bone skull with all of this, right? And then make it into crystal. And try and figure out how in the hell somebody would do that. What kind of tools would they need to create a totally smooth dome? I mean, not a mark on it. Perfecto, right? And she goes, wow. That one's now in a British museum. I saw that one. We've remote viewed that skull, by the way. Very interesting. And so the lore is there's 12 of them. And the people who really were behind the Maya, the previous civilizations, were extremely advanced technologically. They'd have to be. I mean, they've taken this to labs in Germany and they've said to crystal workers, man, how could you do this? They said, I can't. There's got to be a scratch somewhere. You got to go on a microscope. So there's no bloody scratches. Almost as if they had poured the crystal. You can't pour crystal. How the hell do you pour crystal? You got to chip it off, right? And so after that skull was discovered, they discovered 2 or 3 others in different other sites in the Yucatan. and then Humbatsmen, who's a solar priest who I've worked with, he says there's 12 of them. And so the myth is that when all 12 of these skulls, which are like computers, because remember, in our computers, what stores the information is what? Silicon, right? Silicon and crystal are practically identical. So if you wanted to create a very technologically sophisticated computer, putting human thought directly into it, rather than the intermediary of what we do with our computers. In other words, you could store godzillions of bytes of information about a culture in a piece of crystal, just like you could in a human brain, which is why it is a crystal skull. Because that's their brain is in there. If you know how to access it, that's why Indiana Jones, in the last movie, The Crystal Skulls, came about. It was all based on this legend, right? Mm-hmm. And they've found like 8 or 9 of them now. Yeah. And when the final 3, when they get all 12 together, it's literally going to be like Indiana Jones. And a new time will begin, or whatever. And so I've got one in my daughter's house about this size, right? I play with sometimes, and I've got 2 little ones. And here's a really strange story. One represents my son Tao, and one represents my son Kai. And they actually look like these kids of mine, right? It's like this, oh yeah, that's definitely Tao's face, right? This is, oh yeah. So my wife, she likes to play with crystals, and this is Tao and this is Kai, right? So 10 years ago, Tao climbs up a building when he's drunk, falls off and smacks his head, and gets a severe clot in his brain. And after that accident happened, I'm looking at the crystals again. There's a hairline fracture on the Tao crystal skull.
Holy cow!
It wasn't there before, which coincidence, yeah. But I've worked with crystals for many years, and there's a lot of hokey pokey shit around them too. But there's no mistaking that a crystal can contain information and energy, just like a computer. No doubt about it. I mean, we've worked with them. We've done experiments. You can actually tune a crystal to hold information. And so I believe that the crystal skull story has a lot of signal, not too much noise.
Mm-hmm. By 12.
Sorry?
By 12.
That's another great question. Why the number 12? Is it really 12? Is it 13? The lore says 12.
Doesn't have something mythological to 12.
Well, there's a lot of mythology around that number.
Yeah.
That's coming from, from various cultures. But it's